Bringing about a change is an experience. I'm not just kicking lip service, I'm living it. A walking revolution, pure and simple. Witnessing the evil that men do. Has led to lots of trouble, but I still stand like X, cause he was and is the man. How else can one bring about change without tension? The masses claim they won't change, but are against it. From the revolution to Red China, or sitting up front at a diner, it's about my refinement. Uplifting equality, no desires or wishes. Vocal blows on the overturned racist ways of the day and yesterday. No more cotton picking, shuffling, belling, hey, hey. No matter how small the civil disobedience, uncivil's what you get if you don't give it. Not all are capable of standing, so I speak for those who are too weak. The meek shall inherit the earth, God's conclusion, because of ignored revolutions. I'm hoping one day we can coexist. Until then, I leave this track with the raised fist. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold, cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold.
Welcome everyone to the newly branded Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. My name is Michelle Odom. I'm one of the co-hosts, and we are having our special holiday hangout tonight, primarily focusing on the question of whose booty is this, which is a continuation of a dialogue held by bell hooks. I also want to hold a little space tonight to talk about Darren Wilson. When I communicated with Randie a few days ago, she was telling me she was feeling some kind of way about his exoneration, so I want to set aside a few minutes so we can kind of process that. Anyway, we are in the process of changing our name from the National Black Feminist Book Group to the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle, but you can look up probably either one of those names on our platforms at Google, Google+, YouTube, and Facebook to learn more about us. Mostly what we do is read books together and share our reactions to them, but tonight is a little bit different. Again, I'm Michelle Odom, and I am in New York City. Venita?
Hello, everyone. My name is Venita Walker. I'm talking to you from Connecticut. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy you guys are joining us tonight. DL?
I'm Georgette Moses, and I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
Randie, you made it, thank goodness.
Yes, there she is. All right.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Randie Henderson. I am watching from Atlanta, and I'm excited to see everyone. I miss you all, and I'm excited for tonight.
Oh, I'm so glad you got in. Randie, I told everybody before you got here that you had mentioned that you were feeling some kind of way since Darren Wilson was exonerated for the killing of Michael Brown. And so I want to start with, just taking a few minutes to let us express ourselves about how we're feeling about that. Maybe looking at it through the lens of the questions, how have you been feeling since Darren Wilson was exonerated for the killing of Michael Brown? Why are you feeling that way? And what are you doing to channel those feelings? Anybody?
Randie?
She's never going to stop that. You know this.
That's because I love Randie. That's my daughter.
Can somebody else go first this time?
No, you going first, Randie. You're the youngest.
Well, I guess I'll talk, Randie.
Okay.
Okay.
I guess I was not. I guess I'm not particularly distraught or anything about it. I wasn't surprised by it. What would have been surprising to me would be if he had actually been indicted or convicted. But I think that's pretty much where we are and really have always been in terms of blacks' relationship to the American justice system. It's not a place where we very often get anything that looks like justice. So it's disappointing that we're still there, to me, but not surprising. But I think it's interesting. I think I posted something or read something yesterday about the number of young people that have been killed, black and white, that have been killed by police since Michael Brown. And it's I want to say the number was like 14 or something, but it's significant. But I think that there are pluses and minuses to the social media access that we have, because cops have been killing young black men since forever, but those weren't stories that were necessarily getting out to the masses of black people or the masses of anybody. So I think it's good that more of us are getting a window into what the Black experience is in the justice system. But I think, like I'm saying with medical apartheid, if we don't have a clear way of taking care of ourselves as we take in this very negative information, it can easily depress us and put us in rage and cause us to become self-destructive or violent, as in the riot kind of reactions that we've seen in Ferguson. And so, so it is important that we be conscious of how people are being impacted by it. Another thing that I definitely posted yesterday was the story about a young Black woman. I think she's 30 years old, has a doctorate in African American studies, and she teaches at an elite high school somewhere in the northeast, and her students are primarily white. And she was expressing all of this rage about Darren Wilson's exoneration, which I found surprising given the fact that she said she has a PhD in African American studies. I don't know how, from Harvard, I don't know how you can have a PhD in African American studies and not have a fairly high level of awareness of what Blacks go through in the justice system. But I guess you can. Yes. Leah is just saying the fact that it was Harvard is the problem. But anyway, she was feeling really good about herself, teaching these young white people and helping them have another kind of vision of Black people. And then when she started seeing their reactions to what was going on in Ferguson, it seemed to open her eyes in a different kind of way that left her with a lot of rage. So I don't know. I don't think that I'm desensitized to it, Randie. I just think that the more you hear these stories, the more you develop a certain kind of capacity for dealing with it. So I don't think, Venita said we're not going to have the timer on tonight, so I think that was probably longer than 3 minutes. So
I wasn't going to say anything about the phone one day, but we'll just keep it moving.
Well, who's next?
Wow. Well, I guess I'll go. You brought up a really important point about not being, you hear it so much, and it's sad that it's so much, and trying not to become desensitized. And then what do you do in order to deal with your emotions in something positive without internalizing it or, making it destructive externally? And then, at that moment I wondered, well, what did those people that we read about in our first book, at the dark end of the street, think? What were they doing when people all around them were being lynched and burned out and beaten and what have you? What did they do with their emotion at the same time? And here we are, this many generations later, going through a somewhat similar thing, although it's not so exclusively directed at us as a people who have a different kind of brotherhood, working out their psychosis on the populace who are powerless because they've got everything arranged in their favor. And I'm remembering, I listen to a whole lot of Blog Talk Radio because I'm interested in what people all over the country think about what's going on. And so this particular radio program I was listening to, the moderator was white and the people calling in, most of them were white. And this one gentleman called in from England, believe it or not, to say, and an important thing he said about it was, that you could tell that the police, you know, they're really the criminals in uniform, because not just because, you know, they allow the bad cops to keep doing whatever they're doing, but the good cops are complicit, you know, in allowing things to go on, because if they wanted to, they could stop the activity.
Yeah.
But it's so widespread, you know, the criminality. They brag about when they rob, you know, or seize your property for whatever reason, whether it's justified or not. You know, they're buying into the activity that they're supposed to be protecting everyone from.
Yeah.
And so when you see the institution performing from the government, you know, from the federal level all the way down to the municipal level, seeming to buy in and keep following the same path and the same actions, you do half expect the same results, because the public dialogue is the same. Even though I was pleased to see the many different races and religions out there protesting, another thing the man said was, you know, you Americans, you get out and you protest in the streets when what you need to be doing is removing the labor structure from, you know, from these organizations. Because he made the point that, you know, these police, you know, precincts, they have civilians operating in them. So if the people are upset, you know, civilians, you know, don't work there, and then have the rest of the people get together and support them financially, so they can, you know, that your protest has an impact right in the pocket. And that's a wonderful idea, but I don't think we could do it, because, you know, I don't think Americans are at that point where something means that much to all of us. It's hurt all of us so greatly that we could, you know, come together like a big fist and smack down on people who are oppressing us in these particular ways and killing, you know, us randomly for their own pleasure. So
it's another angle on whose booty is this, you know. We supply our booties as labor for everything. And, you know, we do it because that's the way to survive in a capitalist society. But if survival is our only standard, then anything else goes.
Exactly.
Shoot us, kill us, pimp us, you know, because we have to survive. So,
yeah.
Venita, Randie?
Randie? Randie?
I'll be here. Well, I was just I don't know. I think my reaction was definitely different. I had a physical reaction to the verdict, to the grand jury's decision, and I was shaken before he even said what we all knew he was gonna say. I felt like I was tricked into watching the whole speech about him, blaming social media and all this, because we were watching through the news. My mom, she was on CNN's website, and so it had flashed the decision. She didn't have to go through all that. So if I would have known about that way, then I would not have watched it. But I ended up having to watch it, and in Obama's dialogue after the decision. And I was just very sad. I have not reached a point yet where I should know what I know. Like, I knew he wasn't going to get indicted, but I still hope that he would, because it literally doesn't make sense to me that he wouldn't be, and at the time it didn't either. Like, I don't understand the concept of, I don't understand, people who don't have integrity. Like, I don't understand the system that lacks integrity, even though I live in a system that does. and I should have known. But I really, really thought that there would be some type of grace or something that would sway the grand jury. But then I found out who was on the grand jury. And then I found out what they needed to indict with the grand jury. And,
Yeah.
but yes, I was very sad. The next day I wore all black in my like black power fist earrings and something to make me feel like I was doing something for somebody. But I don't know how I've been using this energy. I don't know. I'm just really down. I don't really feel like, but I'm very proud of my people. Protesting and people are writing articles and they're like utilizing their gifts throughout, even though this decision was bull. I understand the riots. Quite honestly, if anything happens to anybody I love, I'll be burning stuff up too. But I also think we should also remember that I follow a lot of people on the ground in Ferguson, Tumblr, because I don't have a Twitter. But and a lot of them are saying that white people are down there burning things up. Police officers are down there burning things up, or wrecking things, or allowing people to, and not stopping them to sway the media, So, and I believe that, and I think for anybody who finds it easier to believe that black people would just lose it and just go crazy throughout the city, and there are no white people or KKK involved, is really naive. And considering the decision, there's just historical like evidence that white people are crazy, and would try to sway the media and have power to. And so, people are also not showing black people cleaning up, or volunteering to clean up. And that's another thing that's keeping me, I don't know, above water. But I really am down. I really do. I don't really feel like, I've been struggling with God a lot. I've been trying to figure out where he is, if he cares, if he likes black people, if he sees this. Am I crazy? Like, I wish I was crazy, like I wish that I was crazy. I wish that this decision made sense, or that I could make myself believe that it does. So I'm just trying to understand where I fit in a country that really doesn't value my life. And it's very difficult to not internalize those messages that I'm seeing and hearing through racist people on Facebook, or people in general, and the justice system, and even Obama, who has greatly disappointed me. So,
one thing I think is important to keep in mind is this whole concept of a post-racial America is, it's such bullshit. And I really hate that it somehow took hold in our consciousness, because I believe very strongly in staying connected to reality. And you remember that conversation we had a long time ago where Venita was talking about driving down the street and looking over and seeing the KKK in full uniform next to her, and the comfort that there is in knowing what you're dealing with, as opposed to the false illusion that that everything is okay. But that I blame my generation really primarily for sort of starting us off on that path of just trying to pretend like, okay, the civil rights struggle is over and we got, our basic opportunity, and now it's just up to every man to, stand on your own 2 feet and do the best you can, because we never got what we needed. What we need is reparations. We never got anywhere close to it, and which means that there were a lot of issues left unresolved on the table, most especially the denial that white people are able to have that, oh, the things that they did to us really weren't that bad, and maybe they didn't even happen. Well, it's that kind of attitude that where they have refused to look at the reality of what has happened. When Darren Wilson started talking about he thought he saw the Hulk, and all of that madness, that's just old school dehumanization going on. But the fact that a young white man in 2014 can be using that kind of language is just evidence that white people have not been bothered to look at the reality of our mutual history in this country. And so as long as you're in denial, you're not solving a problem. And so that's why I say reparations is as much about helping white people get to the mental health that they need, as it is about giving Black people the resources that we need to start recovering our lives. But, so then in pops this idea of post-racialism, and that further allows people to go into this sense of denial about reality. And so, as Desiree said, when the time that she joined us, we are paying the price of Obama being in office. Because until he came into office, you can kind of skate by and pretend like everything was getting better. But once he got elected, it really has unleashed something in quite a few white folks. So, a part of what we are seeing is an increase in the blatant way that Blacks are being killed and abused and dehumanized and all kinds of things. But you've heard me talk about my 500-year plan before, Randie, and I just want to bring it up again to say, because that is my little approach to mental health around these issues, and that is just really to remind myself that it took, what were we in slavery for 250 years, and 100 years of Jim Crow, and it took quite a few years to do the damage that has been done to Black lives and to Black-white relationships. I think it's going to take quite a few years to repair that harm, remembering that destruction is always much easier than construction. It takes nine months to bring life. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But really, it takes 9 months to bring a life into the world, and about 9 seconds to take a life out. And so the illness, the sickness, the disease that forms the substance of Black-white relationships has been a long period of destructiveness, and it's probably going to take 10 times as many years or 20 times as many years to undo the damage before we can really get to a place where we can say we can live on Earth together in peace, that we genuinely are post-racial. And so that means it's not going to happen in my lifetime. It's not going to happen in yours, Randie. And it probably will not be happening in our grandchildren's lives either. So if that's true, then what we need to think about is, then what are the important lessons that we need to try to transmit to each succeeding generation? What are the key things to, if each generation were focused on just fix this little bit right here, just do this one thing. This is the prime directive for the generation born in 2050, and this is the prime directive for the generation born in the year 3000. If we were smart enough to figure it out like that. But we're probably not smart enough to figure it out like that. But I think what's important for us to know is that we can only do what we can do. We didn't cause all this problem, all this mess, and we can't fix all this mess in our lifetime, but we can take a bite size of it and do what is within our individual power to do. So as you said, Randie, these young people are doing such a fantastic job of doing just that. They're doing what they can do. It's not going to solve racism, but it's going to be a drop in the bucket of expanding social consciousness, and that's how we have to do it. Venita, do you have a voice on this? Do you have a voice on this? We're at 7:30.
Well, I was listening to Randie, and I feel for her, because I remember Randie. I used to feel just like you, and to some extent, I still feel the same way. I just don't understand where the integrity is. I don't understand where folks' minds are, and I was so disappointed. It was depressing for me too, because I still believe in unicorns. So I believe that, with enough effort from everyone during the 70s, that we would hold our hands and sing Kumbaya, and we would be dealing with this today. So, as Michelle said, not to appear to seem desensitized, but I saw this so much in my day. It's the same thing over and over again. First, we have to be recognized as humans, and I think that's the key. We are still not recognized as human beings. So you cannot have any feelings about killing us if you don't recognize us as being human.
Right.
And I don't think we come very far with that at all. A good example of that was this person on the Barack Obama staff, Stephanie, that decided the other day, for some ungodly reason, she's from a Southern woman from down south, Caucasian woman, that she was just going to tear down the man's children. Another example of how people don't see us as human. And it's the person right on the president's staff. So I wasn't surprised at the verdict. I expected that. As a matter of fact, they could have just stopped wasting time and had that to us 2 weeks before. Because I'm being honest with you, Georgette, the verdict was as expected. You've been around for a while. I know that Randie's disappointed, but a more mature person, I wasn't shocked. I just wondered what the weight was. Whether they were sitting around having tea and coffee and saying, let's spread this out for a while to make them feel as though we're actually contemplating this.
Right.
There was no contemplation, Randie. And, it's really sad, but there really wasn't. It was just to appease the black folks. We'll just, make it seem like we're going to sit around here and go for this and go for that. And we knew it was going to happen. No one cares. And this is not all about him anyway. It's about these things been going on forever and a day. I don't know what to say about it. I know it's not over. I know it's going to happen over and over and over. As a matter of fact, history repeats itself. It's time for a revolution. It's time, it's time for World War III, unfortunately. It's time for a lot of stuff. So, folks are going to start getting real uncomfortable. When is Barack leaving office? About a year and a half?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. In about a year and a half, Randie, when Barack Obama leaves office, keep your eyes open and keep your ears open, because it's going to get crazy. So what you're seeing now is probably going to end up being, unfortunately, a matter of factly until we rise up. I mean, totally rise up. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. Well, on that note, can we get to the booty?
We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold. Cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our people been bought and sold. We gotta stand cause they got us sitting out in the cold. It's time for the people to break the mold. Cause all our revolutions gotta be told. We gotta fight cause our